The local time, everyone. I'm Audrey Tang, Taiwan's digital minister. It is a real pleasure to attend the Concordia summit virtually. In recent years, humanity has faced a fierce fight back from Mother Nature. The warning signs are everywhere, from the wildfires in the Amazon to the melting glaciers causing rising sea levels. Currently, more than 120 countries are already proposing to achieve the target of net zero emissions by 2050. In Taiwan, our presidential hackathon, an important area for public, private, and social sectors to collaborate with international partners on the sustainability related problems, provided many innovative solutions. Based on the applications of digital technologies, the hackathon transforms energy into a driving force for policy innovation. It shows everyone in the public sector we need to work with the people, not just for the people. There have been many excellent hackathon ideas to date. On our inaugural edition 5 years ago, a standout was the Water Saviors team. They adopted the supervised learning technique, that is to say, training the machine what indicators, including the sound and so on, indicates water leakage. So the deep learning algorithm can predict and verify potential water pipe leakages, saving a lot of time and effort and saved water. Another highlight a couple years later is the Health Weather Together platform built by our National Academy, the Central Weather Bureau, and the Health Promotion Administration with the civil society. The Weather Alert platform for healthcare allows everyone to view personalized hazards, for example, overheating, by opening the Together app. Taiwan also had many frontline social innovation organizations focusing on sustainability. The following speaker, Arthur Huang, is the founder of MiniWiz. The frontline green-minded firm focuses on upcycling material and sustainable design. They could take everyone's trash and then they innovate it into something better. Arthur shared his inspiring experience on my podcast, Innovative Minds, and I'm glad to have had a chance to dialogue with him. I believe you will also enjoy his insights. As we move along the path toward a cleaner and greener future together, it's important to keep one truism in mind. Open innovation is the cornerstone of borderless efforts to tackle shared challenges impacting sustainability so we can free the future. Thanks again for the invitation, and I wish you live long and prosper.
Please welcome to the stage Hope Davis of Axios and Arthur Huang of MiniWiz.
Hi, everyone. Arthur, good to see you. My name is Hope King. I am with Axios. I cover business out of New York, and I have the privilege of chatting today with Arthur Huang, who is the CEO and founder of MiniWiz, which is an upcycling company based in Taiwan. It's a real joy and privilege to be here. I didn't think I would ever be able to get on stage and talk about trash, which is actually one of my passions in life, not like producing it, but actually taking care of it. So I'm super excited to have this conversation with you today, Arthur.
No, thank you. I was very excited to be here. And this is where, when we first started the company in New York, it's actually just looking at all the consumerism. We just thought this cannot go anywhere and it's got to stop. But we're just trying to figure out how to do it. And so for the last 20 years, we're just trying to figure out how to make everything simpler, make everything smarter, how to try to be impactful in whatever thing we do.
Well, we have to catch everybody up on our conversation. We had a long one before we sat on stage today. But I want to start really by asking you where your love and your own passion for upcycling, where did it come from?
Oh, actually, I have a privilege when I was studying Cornell, going to Rome to study archaeology. And that's when you realize the most beautiful building that we always talk about, like Pantheon, it's actually all made from trash. Like in reality, most of these beautiful Roman architectures has a very smart way of using resources. Basically, amphora, and how we date old buildings are actually looking at what people were eating before, what type of amphora, what type of density of the clay, I think this is, circularity. This is the ultimate circularity, and I just thought New York, the new Rome, should do the same.
And your company is trying to basically replicate that through technology and using trash, using waste to create new building materials.
Correct. But I think we have to do so in a new generation of methods. I think first thing is decentralization. I think that's one of the most interesting topic and it's a must-do because why recycling doesn't work is because everything is centralized. When you mix everything together, when you go to a building, when you have a trash chute, you collect all the material, it's all contaminated. When it's all contaminated, you have to find ways, technology way of sorting it, and then you have to reprocess all those material into a new generation of specification. And a lot of that requires so much cross silos innovation. And I think I started in New York, then I have to move to Asia because when you type Alibaba back then, that's where recycled material were. And then eventually you had to find a way to treat them and process them into outvalue. And I think Taiwan provided quite a great innovation platform for us to do that.
Well, we were going to bring some props up here today, but actually buried my lead. Everything you're wearing today is something that, well, used to be trash, right?
Oh yeah, I'm going to be my model myself a little bit. But I know there's a lot of pretty suits out there. There's a lot of tailor suits I see, but I don't think anyone can beat mine because mine is probably the most expensive one you will find even in New York today. Let me give you a reason. This is actually made from two types of recycled polyester yarn. Okay, polyester, everyone knows PET bottles, and then after you use it, you transform that. And normally it's mechanically recycling, and this is actually a low temperature chemical recycle one plus a mechanical recycle one with a very special yarn that is actually matte. So if you notice that it's not shiny, and it's also very breathable. And so it has a low temperature yarn to actually, and it's dope dye. It doesn't use water to create the color. I mean, whatever I just mentioned, some of these quality I just mentioned. Oh, by the way, it's also antibacterial with oyster shell. So there's a lot. And of course, from chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, all the way to the weaving, all the way to coming together to turn that into a Nike products, for example. This is what happened, my daily life, basically. And we don't really make suits. This is not our job, but this is an innovation process we have to do just to get one thing, a piece of trash, to actually be that you were willing to buy. You think it's good enough for you to buy as a piece of clothing for you to wear.
I don't think if anybody hadn't asked you that they would suspect that this was once waste.
Yeah, I get a kick out of that when people is like touching our buildings, seeing our buildings, or seeing our sofa that they're sitting in, because that revelation is the story behind that is priceless, I think.
Well, your company is based in Taiwan, and there are certain aspects about Taiwan that make it possible, really, for you to see from collecting the trash to building it into materials that I think other countries can't benefit from. What are some of the lessons that other regions can learn?
I think there's a lot of, there's smart people everywhere, but I think the key in Taiwan recently is that I know there's a lot of conflict recently, so finally I don't have to have people asking me why is a beautiful beach in Taiwan, why is I went there for vacation, because everyone always thought Taiwan is Thailand, you know? So, but for us, it's an innovation process, super short. And when I started in New York, for example, I couldn't find manufacturer for material. I couldn't find weavers. I couldn't find the testing laboratories. So now in Taiwan, you still have petrochemical, hydrocarbon, all the way to semiconductor manufacturing, still intact within a very short distance. And that's a type of ecosystem that's actually very beneficial for me, at least for any type of weird technology you're thinking of. So we use Taiwan as an innovation center, but the fact is it has a lot of different companies invested in Taiwan.
What are really the roles that all governments are playing right now in trying to create a more circular economy?
Yeah, everybody's talking about, government's talking about circular economy. And I think one of the thing is government has a tremendous part in getting that to work. One of that is, I mean, there's a lot of mandates, 2030 mandates. I think that's great to have. But I don't think it gets as extreme as probably Taiwan. Like recently, Taipei just banned single use. I don't know if you guys know that. That's a big deal, I think. For me, to start this circular revolution, the first thing is you got to turn off the tab so you don't keep creating the material for the first place. And then that's mean whatever that's out there on the surface, it's valuable. And then you can transform that into any type of higher value item. So to take a single use into a durable item. And so I think this is what government should do. Unfortunately, I know there's a lot of political forces to stop many, because it's not easy to make things because single use just make everything easier. But how do you do that on the government level? I think that's what the government can do.
But there's also a perception that, obviously trash is not sexy, it's not desirable, it's obviously things that we want to throw away. How do you think we can make trash, how do we change the perception of trash in consumers' minds where they may feel more invested to get that back into the economy?
Okay, so first thing is you need to let them touch it, see it in action. So I think that's very important. You need to give people a chance to see how the transformation process works. There's a lot of misnomer out there. For example, like trash transformation is going to cause more carbon footprint, it's going to cause more pollution. You got to show people there's no secondary to pollution. There's technology way of doing this that you can do it inside the home, for example. And then you want to be able to do that to show that there's value at the end of life. So for example, today in New York, you can go to Nike headquarters on the 7th Avenue. I think it's 34th or 32nd. The 4-story, if you go in there, the ceiling walls, if you see all this insulation material, they're actually all made from trash already. If you go to the Nike stores, for example, in Mercer 21, which is Soho, you will see all the stores made from trash. So I think the first step is to make people believe that it can happen. That's the first thing. And it's actually just as pretty, just as sexy. And the next step is how to scale it, how to empower the local creatives to be able to do exactly what we do. Yeah.
And that's a big part of what you're doing now is trying to go into local communities and start there because you have found that sort of a national approach is a little bit tougher.
Yeah, because a lot of people is like, yeah, you should keep the manufacturing in Taiwan. Sorry, it doesn't work. It doesn't matter what anybody say because centralized production just doesn't work because you want to save carbon footprint, you need to use the resources locally. Mm-hmm. So we work with 14 of the world's biggest real estate developers. They are the biggest buyer and user of a material. So we work with them locally in different regions, and then we create these infrastructure, upcycling factory, let's say. We take the local trash and we then produce the material and back into for the real estate developers. So then there's a supply of a huge amount of supply of trash and a huge amount of demand for architectural material. And there's a value jump in terms of no value into high value. So that's what we mean by upcycling. That's good. And
during the pandemic, you built hospital wards made completely from waste, from trash.
Yeah, and
and that was to show that you could actually make it feasible.
I was also telling you that sometimes I get very scared talking about that project because we lost a lot of money in that project. But during pandemic, you really cannot move. So we really want to put our good creative mind into something that's like, so trash can save lives. So we built a series of negative pressure ICUs. All using local material. Because by the way, during that time, all the trash can now, all the medical devices are in embargo. And most of the WHO certified medical equipments during that time are all stopped. So we have to figure out how to build a COVID center with just local resources. And so we have to do that very quickly. And yeah, I think it's a great project, but financially, I don't think it's a good one.
Well, I mean, just don't tell everybody, but that's not everyone is hearing. But how do you make it more financially attractive, not only for you, but for other companies to come and partner with you?
I think first of all, you need to have the demand because everybody, like, even in your own office, you have to buy paper, you have to buy office chairs, you have to buy water, or you have to buy toilet paper. So it's always start from the procurement on any one of our procurement issues. Doesn't matter if the company or your individual, is because procurement is choice. It's a way how you choose how sustainable you want to be. So, so the first thing I would do, any company, before you're thinking about us, I think the first thing you should be thinking is, what can I purchase that is locally sourced? A lot of people say farm to table. In a way, you should do that for all your material too. It's trash to table or trash to back into your home.
And that's part of the premise of what you're doing, is trying to shorten the distance, you said, from the end of the cycle of a product, which is the waste, until you start to manufacture it. And that, I think, I'm trying to thread the needle with the themes of this conference too, in the supply chain. That takes a lot of investment to change what we've been accustomed to in the supply chain, which has broken down during the pandemic. But now I feel like we're at the right time to maybe look at this question again, this problem again.
I mean, one of the biggest sustainable footprint, we actually, positive impact is actually during the pandemic, because when the economy shut down, all of a sudden everything actually, the carbon footprint actually reduced tremendously. Now we're back. So I think this is definitely a time for us not to go back to the same level of consumption of what we did before. And previous generation of trash management, of resource management doesn't work. It just centralized production, doesn't work. We had to figure out how to decentralize as smart as possible, as cheap as possible, as simple as possible.
Why aren't more people doing what you're doing?
I think the main reason is I think it takes a lot of investments and takes a lot of, we've been around for 20 years. Yeah, so it takes a lot of investment to keep doing one thing to be good at. That's one thing. But most of the people in this field are, they're good-hearted, but that good heart doesn't last very long. So I just encourage everyone to stick to something that keep you very motivated. But for us, it's the anger that keep us in this field for a long time.
So anger is a more sustainable emotion than feeling good? Is that what you're saying? We should just have that fuel us?
Yes, anger management, yeah. So,
channeling it through that. My last question for you, is there anything around us that can't be broken down and be remade into something else?
No, technically, if we are following nature, everything should be broken down. It's just how you look at it in terms of different time horizon. But in reality, what you talk about today, like plastic, people say is not recyclable, or nature cannot, it can be recycled. It's just in a different time scale. But human, I just want to point out one last thing. The Earth does not need us to be sustainable.
The Earth does not need us to be sustainable.
Yeah, in the Earth time scale, we don't need to be sustainable. We just need to be sustainable for our human society, that's it. So we are trying to be sustainable for ourselves, not for Earth. Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, I think if we want to live, then we should probably still make this a priority. Arthur, thank you. Before we go, we're going to show a little video of the technology that you use and how it works to make trash into new things. So thank you all so much. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
4 years ago, MiniWiz started a journey to create the first mobile recycling line, the Trashpresso. While TP1 traveled around the world, MiniWiz developed a new generation of Trashpresso. A modular system with a smaller footprint and higher energy efficiency. Furthermore, new Trashpresso can be upgraded with a robot arm that will do the dirty job. We will track every single piece of your trash from the moment you throw it away till the time we put it back in the game.